about 7 days, or as long as God took to create the Earth. And even he needed to take a rest at the end. The Soviet plan was nearly as ambitious. It called for the Czech 1st and 4th Armies to push for the Franco-German border, while the Soviet 8th Guards Army advanced on their northern flank and the Hungarians on their southern flank. Paratroopers would seize crossings over the Neckar and Rhine rivers. The Warsaw Pact tanks and mechanized infantry were expected to thrust about 700 miles from Czechoslovakia to Besançon, about 150 miles northeast of Lyon, by D+8. From there, the Soviets could thrust north to Paris and the Channel port, or south to the Mediterranean ports such as Marseille. To strike from Czechoslovakia to Besançon would require the Red Army to travel around 60 miles per day. To put this in perspective, one of the most rapid advances in history was made by Rommel's Afrika Korps in June 1942, when German mechanized units routed the British 8th Army and advanced 350 miles in 10 days, or 35 miles per day. Even during the 1940 German Blitz that devastated France, Rommel's famed 7th Panzer Division advanced only 85 miles in 5 days. The obstacles were daunting. Despite the Western image of the Soviet steamroller, Moscow's planners were only counting on parity or perhaps a slight numerical superiority over NATO forces. The Soviets and Czechs would also have had to cross the battlefield of rivers, hills and towns. Possibly the NATO air forces would have been too busy in North and Central Germany to intervene in the south, but the Warsaw Pact would likely have lacked the air superiority and air support that the Germans enjoyed in 1940. However, the Soviets were counting on a weapon that Rommel didn't have. The Red Blitzkrieg would have been paved by a deluge of nuclear weapons from the start of the war. According to the war plan, the operation will require the use of 131 nuclear missiles and nuclear bombs, specifically 96 missiles and 35 nuclear bombs. The first nuclear strike will use 41 missiles and nuclear bombs. The immediate task will require using 29 missiles and nuclear bombs. The subsequent task could use 49 missiles and nuclear bombs. 12 missiles and nuclear bombs should remain in the reserve of the front. Could it have worked? Certainly, if everything worked perfectly. That is, if the US 7th Corps, West German 2nd Corps, and French 1st Army could not stop the Soviet advance, or at least delay it until reinforcements and reserves arrived. Or, if a landscape pitted with nuclear craters and frazzled by radiation from NATO as well.